Hi. So I remember once upon a time when we used to do the Thor Hellion push, and I was thinking that Hellions are a lot better now. So why not give it a shot, right? So I'm just going to one base Thor Hellion, and he's going to totally scout it. He's got a drone in my base the entire time. There's actually still a drone in my base, so he knows exactly what's coming. So he gets to prepare in any way he sees fit. Personally, I mean, Thor Hellion push easily shut down if you just drone exclusively, nothing at all but drones until 6 minutes, and then you go nothing at all but roaches from then on. You can just crush it. There's no possible way that a Thor Hellion push can compete with that number of roaches. But I guess he didn't have the same idea as me. He goes for a third hatchery, cuts drones pretty early, actually only gets 40 drones. And here comes my push, and he's already lost $600 worth of roaches just walking into mines. So this is 9-minute 23.75 with some upgrades. I think +1 vehicle armor and $300 upgrade that makes mines burrow faster. I don't know why I got that. It was just kind of funny that it existed, so I was like, "Oh, get that!" Whee! So, again, when I win these fights, it's not because I have the better composition or good mic or anything. I just have a lot more army than he does. And that's his own fault. He knew this was coming, and yet he decided to spend less money on army than I did. Kind of weird. And so any composition looks good if you have vastly bigger army than your opponent. So I'm going to ignore the third because who really cares about the third? And it's funny, I walk into the fight, and I just happen to hit E, which is the hotkey to burrow landmines, while I have my Thor selected. So he spends 4 seconds changing his anti-air weapon mid-fight. So that's pretty funny. Look at him go. Woo. I think I'm going to unbind that. There's no point at which I'm going to need that to be bound to a hotkey. But I still win the fight because, again, army size vastly bigger than his. And there we go. So I enjoyed this little push, and I think you will too. Give it a shot. Kill people. 2 factories, 1 reactor racks, and no additional command center. And just constantly pump crap, keeping your money low, building random stuff, and throwing it all over the place. Beep 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 beep. Bam. Hey, when I recorded this, the sound was turned off for some reason. Anyway, this is a series of games that I played with the intent of getting level 30 with all 3 races, because there was a Blizzard post recently where they were like, "Hey, get level 30 with all 3 races. Do it." I'm like, "Okay, I guess if you insist." It is a beta. It's my job to test this crap. Also, it gives you a good goal other than winning, because I'm obviously not going to win very often as Protoss. But you can get XP without winning, so it's totally cool. So anyway, I'm going 3-gate Robo Immortal Sentry. I'm not, exceptionally good at it or anything. And I forgot to build a pylon on his side of the map, which is like really important to this sort of push. But whatever, I'll make a pylon eventually, once the game is already basically over. So then we got ourselves a good old-fashioned ZV something. I think it's ZVZ. And I'm just going to make a bunch of lings. Because in ZVZ, like, I lose to this a lot, so it's an easy thing to do. It's an easy thing to win with. It's an easy thing to lose to. Basically, it's it's kind of difficult to scout anything other than, okay, he expanded, okay, this is how many spines he has, and, this is whether or not he has a roach warren. But is he going all lings, or is he going mostly queens and drones with a couple of lings? You don't know, and then once the lings are out, there's nothing you can do about it. Game's already kind of over. So, now we've got ourselves a TVZ. Again, goal is to max out level-wise, so it doesn't matter if I win or lose, doesn't matter what strategies I do, and if you're just going to play a quick game, why not play a quite literally quick game? Also, I'm just kind of curious how well this is going to work, because so far when I've gone for early tank sort of pressure, like Thor or tank Banshee or mine Marine Banshee, it's worked pretty well. So I'm waiting for someone to kick its butt. In this case, I'm going to go for mass infantry, really. With some medevacs, but it's one basing. I feel like in the beta everyone is two basing because they want to get to the later tier crap, and so it's just asking for people to one base back. Anyway, all these mines mean that he needs cloak detection, and he has it with the tier 1 spores. At 10 minutes, I've got stim plus 3300 is 3500, so right on benchmark for one base, as well as the command center coming down. And he went for a 6 queen defense. Now, the reason that nobody all-ins in TVZ in Wings of Liberty is because of the 6 queen defense. With enough transfuses saved up and some spines, you're just immune to anything. Like, even 10-minute all-ins, you're still immune to them. It's completely overpowered and stupid. Queens are way too powerful. But anyway, he didn't do it right. He saved up some transfuse, but then he just used the transfuse on his queens instead of having any spines. So if he'd had like 3 spines and the same 6 or 8 transfuses that he had, then this would have been very different. He would have easily crushed me. But instead, he... So, next one, we got ourselves another TVZ, I think. TVZ. And again, I'm just going to do some one-base stuff. Just generally getting a feel for how one-base stuff works, as well as... This is a really kind of relaxed session, where my goal is XP rather than winning, losing, or improving. I'm just like, I'm going to one-base everyone. It's fun. For me. I don't know. Whatever. So this time it's going to be some Marine Hellion with, I think, stim. And, again, army spending is 2k at 8 minutes. Walk across the field, massive army lead. But he sees me coming across the field, so he gets a big army of his own before I get there. This is the, the standard Zerg defense, right? Keep an eye on the front of his base and then spam army as soon as you see him crossing the field. So he manages to really easily mop up my first push. But because of mines... and the lack of cloak detection at 8 minutes into the game, I'm able to do quite a bit of damage with the mines even after I've lost all of my beefy forces. And this sort of led to me in future games kind of overestimating how good mines do. Because in this game I did really well with mines, and I was like, this is cool. If you can't see them, they do tons and tons of damage, and they give me a platform from which to push further with, and just really shuts them down. But then in future games... people who just make one, what's it called, Overseer and some roaches, they just crush mines. Mines are so bad against Zerg if the Zerg knows they're there and deals with them properly, because you can't turn off auto attack, so a $25 ling can soak up a mine, and the mine costs $100. So anyway, lots of one-base murder. It's funny, I pulled SCVs days ago at like 8 minutes, so like 3 minutes ago, but I turned auto repair on before I pulled them, and then I attack moved them across the field, so they just stayed home and repaired that one SCV that had been damaged during the initial worker harassment phase and never actually showed up. And now when they do show up, they're going to show up down at his natural when when my army is at his main, so all the SCVs just kind of died for no reason. Anyway, he likes to say la 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 noob, and then that's the end of that game. So this time it's a something else, TVP. Terran versus Protoss. I'm going to do the standard kind of 2-1-1 all in. And as Nick said, this is a lot less effective now that they have basically a siege tank made out of a Nexus, so like a 700 health siege tank or something with 13 range and tons of damage. But just because it's less effective doesn't mean it's not pretty damn effective. So, I mean... I suppose it's probably not very viable in like Grandmasters League anymore, or like forever, but in general, especially against someone, we're looking at his vision, he never scouted anything. All he knows is that I at some point made some Marines and a Marauder. He doesn't know what I'm doing. He doesn't even know that I didn't expand, so it becomes a lot more viable in that scenario. So here comes my cute little force. You can see the 100 supply at 11 minutes, so it's a little bit stingier than normal. His Nexus, we're gonna rewind and see how many kills his Nexus got. But you can see it just kind of steamrolled him like a man with no pants, and that's the end of that. But I just wanted to rewind and look at how that Nexus thing went. So you can see, with my initial poke, the Nexus killed 2 Marines, and then during the primary battle, the Nexus killed an additional 8 Marines. So it got 10 kills overall. That's essentially $500. So it's not game-endingly significant. It's just like, it's nice to have. And with force fields, you could feed it even more damage, but it's not quite enough to tip the balance against an already awesome strategy. So also he invested a bunch of money in these double upgrades. He pulled all of his probes instead of some of his probes. So even though he was able to mop this up by pulling all his probes, he's not mining at that point. So, and then he didn't even completely mop it up. Like he could have mopped it up, but then he walked his probes back and he's like, I need to go continue mining, whatever. So at this point, we basically he has more income than me, and more production infrastructure than me, because those oracles chased all of my SCVs all the way across the map and killed like 20 of them. Freaking oracles, I tell you. But it's too late. He's never gonna catch up with the army thing. So I love picking up Vikings and dropping them. It's pretty funny. Speed boost. Meow. Speed boost. You cannot mine. Pew. Speed boost. Speed boost is so clever. Clever like an engine. So next we've got ourselves a, looks like TVZ again. It looks like ZVT actually. I'm the Zerg. So in this game, I'm not taking any of these games super seriously. I'm in it for the XP rather than the wins, which allows me to really relax. I'm watching kids, so I got to be able to stand up and look behind me and listen to what they're doing and other kind of stuff. That's the guy who I beat messaging me in the background saying what a great job I did, both having a giant army all the time and having lots of drones and continuing to expand. And I'm like, oh, thank you. That's very polite of you. So basically what happened here is he did that weak-ass fake bunker pressure, and I could tell it was fake bunker pressure, so I didn't overreact. I just fought it off with 2 drones and, like, 4 lings and a spine. But knowing that anyone who had the Marines to reinforce a completed bunker would have, I know that he must be doing a 1-rax fast expand, probably into mech. So I'm just going to make a giant Baneling Bust and go Baneling Bust his face, because usually when you fast expand, you're really vulnerable to a giant Baneling Bust. Unfortunately, he went for a really early Blue Flame upgrade, and I did a really bad job with that Baneling Bust. So I am able to force him to the high ground and make it so that I got basically double his income at this point and get a huge lead, because I'm already on 3 bases. I'm starting my 4th. I've got tons of workers, 51 workers between 3 bases, keeping my income around 2,200, and he's unable to start mining at his 2nd again, so he's on 1 base versus 3 base. So I got a great lead, and I shouldn't really be able to lose from here. So at this point, I should have basically transitioned into a more realistic strategy, you know, like Ling Infester instead of pure Ling, or Roach Infester, or Roach Hydra Infester, or whatever it is that I was going to transition into. But because I'm not really sure what valid strategies are ZVT in Heart of the Swarm, because I don't have a ton of experience with it, I know that the Infester got nerfed. I used to just go Ling Infester, and it was easy to beat everything with Ling Infester because of Infested Terrans, but Infested Terrans don't get upgrades anymore, so they're pretty crap. So I just decided to not tech at all and just keep making tons and tons of Lings. And that was a stupid idea because, again, he's massing Blue Flame Hellions, and I'm massing Lings. So, like, if there is a way for a man who has this much of a disadvantage to actually get back into the game, that is it. You should make the unit that he has explicitly countered, and nothing else but that unit. So as you can see, I'm still mining 2,300, and he's still mining 1,200, 1,100 or something. So more than double him. And I've got 140 supply to his 87 supply, and he's doing a little bit of trading of Hellions for drones. But Zerg can replace lost drones almost instantly. So losing drones, while it is annoying and it does prevent me from making as many Lings as I would like to, it's not really hampering my economy the way that it would to lose SCVs as a Terran. So again, I make a giant army and just kind of suicide it meaninglessly into Thor's tanks and Lings. Every time I make a Baneling, it's like kicking myself in the nuts, because Banelings are great against Hellions if they can hit them, but they can't. And they're terrible against tanks and Thors. And those are the only three things he's making: tanks, Thors, and Hellions. And so my Banelings are like guaranteed not to do anything. So it's pretty stupid. At this point, for the 800th time, my army is massively bigger than his army. Again, I've got a 4K army. He's got a 3K, 3.8K army. So it's actually not massively bigger. It's just a little bit bigger. But I should not just be massing nothing but lings at 16, 17, 18 minutes into the game. I should be making ultras at this point, or something other than lings. 73 workers on 4 bases, 5 bases now against 2 bases, 48 workers. Really, this is like the ideal game for a Terran. This is what you would want the AI to do when you played TVZ against the AI. Man gets infinite cash, makes infinite units, and you just have to defend and do some counter harassment. Boom. Kills lots of lings. Look at that, 16,000 damage for him, 7,000 damage for me. I've gone Swarm Host. Like, I realized that I can't just keep massing lings forever, so I'm going to make Swarm Hosts. And I laugh because I've never... I mean, Swarm Hosts are embarrassingly bad against Terran. They're basically a ZVP and a ZVZ unit. They have a role which is to sit underneath spine crawlers and pressure people, forcing them to attack into your spine crawlers. But Terran crushes spine crawlers, so you can't do that with ZVT. And Terran gets scans, and yeah, just they're just terrible. So lings are terrible against mech, and locusts are terrible against everything. So he finally gets